Stephen describes himself as a certified music nerd and band geek that's been playing guitar since he was 12, but can also play drums, piano, and horn instruments. And he signed his first record deal when he was 19 with a band called Somebody's Weird. I guess I didn't catch that one, but they have sold 25,000 copies in the local area of their first album. Got a lot of radio play, and they were picked up by Warner Brothers label a year later and released an album with them and went on tour with Motley Crue. We'd like to hear something about that too. And he's did that while touring the world and released 4 albums and numerous singles with over 1 million streams of his music. He's written songs for commercials, including Absolute Vodka, plus songs for movies and documentary soundtracks. And he's been in Dallas for about the past 7 years. And he loves the number of opportunities that are out there for singer-songwriters. So he's going to tell us how to make money from the music business, at least the way he's been doing it. And maybe we can get some ideas too.
And this conversation or this topic came up when we were doing a festival. I was talking with Harry and a couple other guys around the table about the things that I do to monetize when I go out and play and that kind of stuff. And things that maybe I kind of take for granted that I think maybe everybody knows, maybe they don't know. So I thought we'd just kind of go over a few things, and it won't be very long. But if after this, if somebody has some more in-depth questions or they just kind of want to wonder something, just send me an email, send me a message, and then I'd be more than happy to talk more about it. So the way that I see it, there are 4 ways to kind of monetize what it is that we do. First one being through gigs and that kind of stuff. And it's, whether it's a paid gig or whether you're doing, open mics and that kind of stuff. There's being able to sell merchandise and do that kind of stuff. There's been able to get played with music on commercials, TVs, that kind of stuff, radio. And then the other one is donations from your fans and people that you interact with when you kind of go out there. So I thought I would just kind of go through the 4 of those and a couple little pieces from each one on what it is that I do to kind of help me through that process. And look, I will tell you that I'm probably just like a bunch of you. There are times during when I'm doing this that I feel very motivated and I'm all about it and I'm 100% in. And there's other times where I get a little, you play a gig for 2 people or something like that, and then you get a little, disenfranchised, and then I stop for a little bit, and then I go back and forth, right? So, it is. What you put into it is what you get out of it, right? So the first thing that I think everybody needs to do, if you are not already, is that you need to be part of a performance right organization, whether that's ASCAP or BMI. I happen to be with BMI. It doesn't cost anything to do, and anybody can do it. So if you are not part of that, I suggest doing that first, because that is kind of the gateway to being able to do some stuff. With getting paid for gigs, even open mics, when you're only doing 2 or 3 songs, or when we go and do like the DSA stuff at the Wildflower Festival or Deep Ellum and that kind of thing, I still get paid for that through BMI. And BMI and ASCAP both have a version of this. For BMI, it's called BMI Live. And what you do is you take all of your songs, you register them, and you don't have to send in music for it or anything like that. You don't even have to write lyrics. All you have to do is put in there the name of the song, and then you have to give percentages for the writer and for the publisher. Now, if you don't have a publisher, then there's 200%. Essentially, there's 100% for singer-songwriters, and then there's 100% for publishers. So if you're both, then you would have 200%. And then what you do is you register your songs with BMI, and then I have their app on my phone, and whenever I have a gig, I go and I register my gig. I list the songs that I'm going to play, and I get paid to play my own songs at the venue. And, how much you get paid depends on like certain tier levels. But I can say on average, if I were to do like a 2-hour show and I play somewhere in between 20 and 30 songs, for that, I'll get payment from BMI for about $20. And, and that's not bad. It's $20 that I wasn't going to make before. And it's, and every single time that I go somewhere and play, I register my show and I make that money, and then BMI pays out quarterly. So on a quarterly basis, you know, if I do my average amount of shows, I'm getting a check for a couple, $300 or something like that. And that's just strictly from just playing open mics, doing the shows that I do, playing festivals, that kind of stuff. And it's just a pretty easy way to just get a couple bucks for doing what you already do. All right. And then after that, for the music type stuff, I get a lot of, and I was trying to cater this towards, I know that we do a lot of open mics and a lot of the people on here do that kind of thing, like how we can make money doing that. And I've gone to a bunch of shows, and I'm sure that you guys have like a little, you know, piece of paper or something like that that has a QR code that'll have either like some Venmo or PayPal or some way for people to tip you electronically, as a lot of people don't carry cash anymore. But what I've noticed is when you go to these shows, even if they have a pretty good size poster or banner up where they're playing, it's still hard to be able to scan that QR code when you're in the audience to try to tip or do something like that, right? So what I've done is there's a website called Linktree, and you can generate a QR code to Linktree, and Linktree has all of my links to PayPal, Venmo, Apple Pay, Zelle, whatever payment options are out there, they're all in one place. But that way you can have just a singular QR code. And then I happen to work at a print shop, and I print out postcards and I put them on the tables, and I can literally get 250 postcards for about 20 bucks. And those last me for a while. And you put those out on the table. That way, when you're talking to the people in the audience, when you're playing, you can point that out. It makes it much easier for them to do that. And I will tell you, I mainly, even playing the shows that I get paid to do, I will generally make as much or more from the tips than the actual payment from the venue. And it usually doubles, you know, so I usually charge about $100 an hour. So if I play a 3-hour show, I usually kind of walk out with $300 in tips because I've put those QR codes there. And then the other thing that I do with that, there's 2 types of QR codes. There's a dynamic QR code and there's a static QR code. The ones that I use are dynamic QR codes because there is tracking that I want to do. When somebody scans my QR code, it asks for an email address. And then I can then have the data for that. It's very important that your email address list is vibrant and full, and then you use that to the potential, so that I'm still trying to make money when I'm not performing, and the email list is a big part of that. I mean, there's Facebook and there's that kind of stuff, but there's not the type of engagement that you give whenever you have somebody's email address. You can just reach out directly to them and ask them specifically what it is that you want, whether it's buy merchandise or download a song or do something like that. So I do that. And then on the music side, so I have on my music, I've had over 1 million streams of all the songs that I have, and there's some that are better than others. But I didn't really start to get that opportunity for that amount until here about maybe 3-4 years ago. And I use a website called Submit Hub, and it costs money to do this, but it's a small amount of money. I'm talking $20. You buy tokens and that kind of stuff, and then it gives you a list of places that play music, whether it's playlists, radio stations, just a bunch of different stuff. And you can go through and you can weed it out by genre, area, that you know, different countries do this kind of stuff. And then so you can really drill down to find out there in this whole entire world, there is somebody out there who loves what it is that you do. And it's just about being able to find those people and then reaching out to them. And if you can do that, then you can, you know, be able to monetize what it is that you're doing pretty good. If you go to my Spotify page, you'll notice at the very top, there's one song that has like 14,000 Spotify streams, and then all the other ones below that are less than 1,000. I didn't do anything else with the ones that are below that, and I just submitted that one tune on Submit Hub maybe about I think it's maybe 8 months ago when I released my latest album, and I just did that one song. And I think I spent maybe $3. And the reason that you want to have all those streams and you have monthly followers and do that kind of stuff is for the next part. You want to reach out to all of the cities that we have available to us, Plano, Arlington, Dallas, Fort Worth. Every city that's here has an arts and entertainment area. And the city puts on concerts. I'm sure you've been to the some. I know there's some going on all the time. And what I did is that I just called the city and asked, hey, who books your little city shows and does that kind of stuff? And I just got their information. And then I emailed them, and then I can email them a link over to my Spotify or my Facebook or Instagram or whatever. And they can see that, oh, okay, you know what? They actually have some traction there. You don't want them to open up a page and see that you have, 5 followers with 10 streams or something like that. There has to be something in there that makes them say, oh, okay, they're doing pretty good, right? And then those shows pay pretty good. So we kind of want to maximize that little thing. And then on merch, so I don't, back in the day, we used to have to, print 100 shirts and carry them around everywhere and try to sell them to people. And we don't have to do that anymore. There's a bunch of services that are around to where you can design your own merchandise. Like I use Printful. You can design it, Printful will house it, and you can just set up a little shop. I do it off of my Spotify and my own website and that kind of stuff. And somebody goes to my website, they see the shirt, they buy it, Printful prints it, mails it, sends it, and then they just send me money whenever it's done. So there's nothing that I have to do to really do that, other than the few minutes it spends for me to make a design or something like that. For those of us who are not so artistically inclined to do that, I use AI to come up with designs for me. I use AI to help write my bios, or I use AI to just do those types of things that maybe I'm not necessarily great at. And it's a good tool to use to kind of help with that, being able to get yourself out there and say the right words and do that kind of thing, right? So if you take all of those little things and and you don't have to do it a whole bunch, you can just take a couple little things at a time, and then you start to build those, and then you can start to monetize when you're not doing anything. And then you want to build up the relationship that you have with the email people when you're out doing that kind of thing, so that you can send them that stuff to be able to make money whenever you're not playing and that kind of thing. And that's really about it. There wasn't a whole bunch that I had. There's just a few little things that can kind of do stuff. But I will tell you that I am not the best at doing the social media stuff. I am Facebook ads and Instagram ads and being able to link your merch shop over to Spotify and Instagram and all that kind of stuff is not something that I'm good at. Making sure that the meta tags are what they need to be and where they're doing that kind of stuff. So I get help doing that. And her name is Allie, and she helps me on my social media side. And then so I don't necessarily do it all the time. I'm working on an album right now. So as soon as I'm done with the album and I get everything done, I'll register the songs. I'll make sure that, and whoever you're using for distribution, I happen to use CD Baby for distribution. Whenever I get all of that stuff ready and set to go, then I will call Allie and tell her, hey, here's what I want to do. And then she helps me work through that stuff, because there's other people that are much better at it than I am. And there's always a cost to do that kind of stuff. But I find that the benefit that I have from, I might maybe spend $400 or $500 on doing some promotion and that kind of stuff. But that $400 or $500, I can make that back in 2 gigs easy. And this stuff is helping me get that kind of thing. When you're going full force, you can do 2-3 shows a month easy around here, and not wear out your welcome at any certain place, which is the great opportunity of living in DFW area, is that there are so many places to play and being able to maximize what it is that we do. So look, I'll stop there for now and see if anybody has any questions about what it is that I said. And then after that, Allie can kind of talk about what she does for me, and then we can kind of go from there.
Well, I kind of wanted to hear about Motley Crue.
Here,
How was
I'll tell
that?
you. Yeah, look, I'll tell you how it started. So I was living in New Mexico. I was in a band that we were in college, and we were doing pretty good locally. And we had won like best local band for several years and that kind of stuff. And then we put out an album of our own that we did, and I think that we ended up selling like 5,000 or 6,000 copies of that, which was pretty good in just our little town, not a big town at all. And then the local radio station started to pick it up, and then we're about 70 miles north of El Paso. The large radio station in El Paso started hearing about us, and they started playing our stuff on the radio. And then when they started doing that, there was an independent label out of El Paso that came to one of our shows, and then we signed a deal with that independent label. And then we went and recorded an album. And then with the help of the radio play from the El Paso radio station, and then in our town, we ended up selling about 25,000 copies of our album, just self-produced, and it was awesome. And then it just so happened at about that time, the radio station in El Paso was having a contest that a band could open up for Motley Crue, and this was on their reunion tour. And long story short, we won that contest, and we got to open up for Motley Crue. And their manager came and talked to us after the show, and then we signed with him, and then he got us on his imprint label, which was Illusion Records, with Warner Brothers. And then we went out and did an album with them, and then toured around. And so we did, the first that little first leg with Motley Crue took us out, and then we began doing festivals. We did the Warped Tour a bunch, did like that. We were just a bunch of kids with long hair driving around in a van, and drinking water and eating ramen, that kind of stuff. And then so we did that for a long time, did a couple trips over to Europe. And then I got a little too big for my britches, and I thought I was more than I was. And so when we were doing the second album, I had my first child, and I told the record label that they needed to fly me back and forth from gigs, or I was going to quit, and then they fired me. And then, but I had the contract that I had signed. They had the rights to be able to to all the music that we had created, and then so they shelved the second album that we had, and then I could not go out and play in another band or do anything because they had the rights to any of the band members had they quit or got fired. So they got another singer, came in, did that album. It didn't do any good, and then it ended up terminating the contract. But it still took a year before I could actually go out and do anything else. So that was pretty fun. That was a little humbling experience. So that was that.
Just a typical rock and roll story, huh?
Right. Just a thing. And look, we made zero money off of any of the record sales, but this was back in the time when they weren't taking cuts of merchandise and gigs. So we were doing pretty good. We go out and play shows and, tour around, that kind of stuff. So, I can't complain. I was able to pay the bills and do that kind of stuff, but made zero money from record sales.
Oh, geez. Well, why don't we hear from Allie, hear what she does for you? Because she probably does some things that we might be able to learn from.
Stephen, I could have told that last part of that story.
Right. And look, just as a qualifier, on average quarterly, I get about maybe 50 to 60,000 streams of my music, and that busts out roughly to about $22.
Oh, my goodness.
About 22.
Have you heard of who was the speaker we just had? What was the name?
Oh, yeah.
Of that?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. The MCU.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I went to a conference and signed up with them to see if I had any money out
there. Yeah.
There's a couple.
Did it work? I mean, did it do anything?
There were a couple. I have a song called Deja Vu that somehow, and this was back in the day, that had gotten picked up for like, I don't remember what it was, but that's the song that gets played mostly. And it's on, they do it for like bumps in like commercials and TV shows and that kind of stuff, a lot overseas. So that's where most of it comes from. And I had found out that there were some foreign parts that had not been registered to me, and MCU helped me work that out.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Good.
Stephen,
Yes, sir.
what happened to the other guys in the band?
One of them builds houses. The drummer, he builds houses now. The bass player works in the medical field, and then the guitar player actually lives here in Dallas, and we still hang out and have fun together. But everybody still plays. We all still just kind of do our thing.
It's great.
Yeah.
The other guy's
Thank
still in Alamogordo. Is that where you're from?
It was Las Cruces. Yeah. Yeah. The other two are still in Las Cruces. Yep. Yeah, look, it was a fun ride. I wouldn't give it up for anything. You know, met a lot of really cool people, and look, I still have friends, you know, that I can call. You know, we did some shows with Def Leppard and that kind of stuff. So every time they come to town, we go hang out. Do some Candlebox. I know those guys pretty good. And it just, you know, it's all those people that were in the music business that long ago are still doing it, you know, in either like they work at a label, or they work in promotion, or they work with some. So there's always just somebody to call to help out. But, you know, in today's music business, there's not the need for what the major labels do. Back then, we still needed it, and you don't really need it these days. You know, by the time you get noticed by a major label now, you don't need it. You've already done most of it. There's really not a need for it. So.
Well, can we hear from Allie? I'd like to hear what she does for you.
Yeah. Well, nice to meet everybody. Thank you for having me. So I'm looking forward to just kind of delving into what I do and how this sort of thing can help you guys. So I'm 22, just a little about me. I'm 22. I'm based out of Arlington right now, and I work as a social media manager / marketer. So we're going to talk about social media. So what can it do for you, and how can it aid you as an artist? So social media in general can be a very daunting, challenging, time-consuming thing, especially when you look at all of the different platforms, different kind of features that you can use for yourself, especially if you're not very familiar with it. So I'm just going to kind of go through some of that stuff. And how somebody like me can help somebody like you. So some common issues that I hear in the music industry a lot are typically trouble booking shows, not getting enough streams on Apple Music, Spotify, you know, wherever you get your streams from, and or not selling enough merch. So with social media, especially with how much it has grown in today's kind of age, it has the power to really help you guys, especially with those. So an aspect of social media that is huge is the networking aspect. So this connects like-minded individuals far and wide includes your local area, which is good. So you can connect with your audience, with other musicians, with venues. You can do this easier because all it takes is a quick message and more often. So you can connect with kind of all these people without having to drive there or give them a call or schedule, you know, an appointment. It's just really all like this power is in, it's in your hand, you know, every day. So using social media is also a great way to drive traffic to wherever you stream your music. Let's see. And so with links, he was kind of talking about this with his link tree. Something that is that really helps drive traffic is those links. So you can, people have the ability to browse your music. You can post photos of the merch that you have. So if somebody's, you can post where your next show is. So if somebody is looking for a show and, they look up a hashtag, DFW music, and yours comes up, and then they can click the location, see where it is, scroll, see what merch you have, and just really start building a relationship with you. And that's the wonderful thing that I love about social media, is that you can foster these meaningful relationships with other people who like your music or like what you do or want to hire you.
Hey, can I interrupt you real quick?
Yeah. Mhm.
I just want to get what you said and give it like a little practical thing for what it did for me. So like I said earlier on my Spotify link, there's one song that has 14,000 plus streams versus all the other ones that were less than 1,000. So the ones that are less than 1,000 were the ones that I did. The ones that the one that has over 14,000 is the stuff that Allie helped me with. And then the interesting thing about this is that so she was able to help me get that song onto a playlist on Spotify that was one of the top playlists. I know it's going to sound weird, but in Finland. And in the span of 2 weeks, I had, I believe, 4,000 streams in just Finland from people ages, I believe it was 32 to 47 or something like that. So we were able to take that information and then we were able to target being able to just sell the songs. Like streaming's great, right? But I want somebody to buy my song off of a platform for 99 cents or something like that. So we were able to take that information, target Finland, and then be able to monetize that information. So we were able to take what we did here and then get the data and the information and then target over there and then turn that into money. So anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Let's see. So yeah, exactly what he said. These kind of things where you can drive your audience or people that are, interested. It allows more people to discover you, which is a huge thing because so many people around the world use social media, billions of people. So whenever you're employing that in kind of your growth strategy, it really gets your stuff out to a lot of people, or it can. So lastly, you can utilize these to showcase your talent, your creative expression in a way where your audience can actually engage with you. So something about social media is it's a platform where you really get the authentic side of it. It can depend, right? Because there's people that, don't post authentically, but I feel like it is translated really well through music. It's your authentic, musical expression, and people really connect with that. So they can private message you and say, hey, where's your next show? Or, we ran across your page. We'd love you to come play at our restaurant on Wednesdays when we have this new, show, something like that. Or even just simple encouragement. So it's a really, really great way to engage with your audience, build deeper connections with them than, if somebody goes to one of your shows, they can follow you and see what you're doing and keep up with your music and your merch. So as a social media manager, so what I do and what people like myself do, especially in Dallas, there are a ton of us. But what we do is we learn about you. So what kind of music you play, what previous things you've done and where you'd like to be. So how do we get you from point A to point B? And then we do, with social media managers, a big thing is saving time. And we have knowledge about the algorithm in a way that can get your posts seen by a lot more people than typically if somebody just does it on their own. But you can take this advice and implement some of it yourself. So something that we do is we do research. So we look at your competitors. I don't really like that. You can say inspiration, or, you know, if you have kind of like this group, all the people in here, if you have a friend, you know, that's your inspiration. So you can, so we do research on your audience. So the kind of people that are listening to your music, or, you know, people in that area. It can be a location type thing. And then we also look into user-generated content. So this is, for example, if you have a show and a fan or an audience member comes up to you at the end and says, can I take a photo with you? That's user-generated content. So taking that and, you know, asking for permission, of course, but asking if you can post that on your social media. It really involves the community, and it's just shown to drive more traffic when you have that user-generated content. So that's something to think about. Let's see. And then, so the main thing with a social media manager specifically is that they can come up with a strategy development for you. So this means that once they get all this information, you know, where you're kind of based out of, so we can get that general location, your genre of music, etc. We come up with a strategy by, like I said, leveraging the algorithms. So, and then once we do that, we'll go ahead and share it with you, and you can say, okay, I like this, I don't like this, you know. And then the last thing we do, which I know some of you definitely do this, is creating content. So if you are at a show, you know, having somebody do like a Facebook Live, or recording a video and you kind of trim it down and put it on Instagram, or, you know, doing photo shoots with your, you know, musical instruments or on stage, stuff like that. So we go ahead and create this marketed content, and especially with music, it is, let's see. So you want to market it in a way that's engaging, you know, not necessarily like an advertisement, but, you know, just engaging is really what turns out to be the biggest growth factor on social media. So we'll create content for you, edit your stuff, you know, make it just really engaging, use hashtags, like Steve mentioned, like meta tags, things like that, so people can find you really, really easy. And then the last step we do is we just review your analytics, which means, okay, what worked? Where can we kind of improve? And then next steps moving forward. So, you know, you could hire, say, like a social media manager for a month, get some ideas from them, and then go forward on your own. Or I know that there's some people that kind of do like longer ones, but the point with all of this is that social media, especially today, like 2023, Twitter is changing. We have TikTok now. There's Threads, which is like a Twitter competition. There's so much going on with social media, and so many people use it. So being able to go on there and, you know, show your genuine self and express yourself musically, I think is a beautiful thing. And it's a great way to bring a larger audience to you. So yeah, that's my little piece. If you guys have any questions or want to go do your, you know, social media and are looking for maybe some advice, you know, I'll give somebody my information, and you guys can either email me or kind of look at, you know, what I do if you have any questions. But yeah, I think it's a great way to grow your brand.
Could you
Sure.
post a link to your site?
Could you put it in the chat, or just tell us, or?
Oh yeah, I'll put it in the chat for everybody.
That's
Okay.
great.
There you go. And your contact information.
Okay. All righty. But yeah, if anybody has any questions.
I have a question. Do you use AI?
In a way. So something that's not necessarily AI, but it is a very streamlined tool, is scheduling out posts. So essentially, if a piece of content is created, I use these tools to schedule them out. So you keep consistency online so that your audience can see what you're doing, throughout the week and keep up with you. In terms of actual AI, not really. Sometimes I'll use ChatGPT to really delve into any like algorithm changes, but I kind of keep up with the news on that. So personally, I don't, not right now, although I'd love to find a way to incorporate it.
I just want to throw in one thing as far as like this scheduling posts and so on. I use Buffer, and Buffer has
Yes.
a free version if you're not doing too much. If you're just doing like up to 3 social media things, so you could have Facebook, your musician page, not your personal one, but Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram maybe. If you're just using the 3 of those, that way you can send out, you can schedule it in advance, and you can send the same thing out to all 3 at the exact same time, or you can stagger them if you want, but I don't see much point to that. But and it helps. I don't use it all the time, but when I'm getting ready for shows and trying to promote, all of a sudden I will ramp up and I'll use Buffer to do it, so I don't have to constantly be hitting send and so on.
Yeah, Buffer's a great way to keep up that like consistent engagement, which is like key. Because yeah, people want to see what you're doing, and when you use something like that, so say you have a show, you can just take a few clips from that and schedule them out. Yeah.
Stephen, how did you meet Allie? How did y'all first get together?
You're
Oh, I
muted, Stephen.
Stephen, we can't hear you.
See, this is why I need a person like Allie, because I don't know. Right. No, look, I did it the real hard way. I birthed her.
You're kidding.
Really, boy,
Yeah.
that's
Right.
Get
So
to bring me into this world
Right.
for marketing.
That's
Yeah.
dedication, Stephen.
We
That's
don't need to go
dedication.
into detail on that then. Okay.
that's how you do it, right? Yeah. But like, full disclosure, I still pay her because she does the job well. If she didn't do the job well, I wouldn't pay her.
oh, that's cool. Very cool. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
wanted to
Plus,
ask Steve-
look, and the good thing is that she's grown up with me doing this stuff, so she has a good good mind for it. Like music's a hard thing to do, like we all know, right? It's and anything that can help out, especially for somebody like me. I spend a lot of time on the playing part and not so much on the content part, and that's what I need the help with.
I wanted to ask you, Steve, what was the name of your band in New Mexico that sold?
It was called Somebody's Weird.
Oh,
and
okay.
And I'm going to tell you that the reason I like it so much, because this was before cell phones and internet, and like I think MySpace might have been a thing back then. So I love it because you can go Google it. You might be able to find a picture of me with blue hair, but that might be about it.
Okay.
I like it.
All right. Well,
Very
Stephen,
informative.
Allie, y'all have been very informative and entertaining and helpful. We appreciate it.
Well, yeah, thank you guys for having me on. I'm really glad I could come and talk to you guys, and it's a passion of mine.
Well, super. Well, we're going to have our song critiques. Can you hang around for that, Steve, and listen to some of these songs and maybe put your 2 cents worth in or something like that?
Sure, of course, love to.
Allie, are you looking at making this a long-term career?
Yeah, so right now I do freelance. There are agencies out there, but personally I like freelance because it gives me a little bit more freedom in my life, but I also really like it because with freelancers, it allows you to, let's see, adjust a little bit more with each person. And I really just like, so one of my core values is growth. So I love being able to help other people with that, especially now that we have social media. But yeah, eventually I would like to get some photographers and video editors to, you know, and people like that to do kind of the stuff that they're a little bit better at than I am.
Is
But-
this something that you could use a website like Upwork to advertise yourself?
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
you use
so
social media to advertise your social media service.
yes, exactly. So yeah, social media, Upwork, Fiverr, are all really good, but then also just kind of going to networking events, you know, meeting people. I would also just recommend that for anybody trying to build their reach.
Well, thank you very much, Allie. You did a great job.
Thank
and
you,
Very
guys.
informative, and come
Thank
back
you
and see us.
so much.
Thank you.